Hey guys, we're back. Another great episode of Oversteer TV online the podcast. I know the name just like it's like an earworm. You can't get it out of your head.
Oh, I see it. I have a little melody that I have in my head.
I'm here
Over
with
to
our
TV, the podcast.
you got to write a new theme. You got to write a theme song for us.
Yeah.
You got some guitars back there.
Yeah,
Uh
I do. I can write a theme song. Our last theme song was written by my best friend, Paul Cornelius, who's passed away now.
you
So shout out to Paul, wherever he is, up or down, probably down.
Remember all the interesting people are down.
If you had
uh
a fun life, you're going down.
yeah. In case you didn't know, it's my partner in crime here, Jeff Brown. I'm Tony Castanera. Welcome. We're back. And there really wasn't that much going on because, of course, the Olympics and a lot of the series said, well, let's take some time off because I compete with Simone Biles and
Yeah.
Katie Ledecky and all the other stuff
And the
uh,
guy with the pole vaulting,
the
the
pole vaulting
pole,
guy. I know
the pole vaulting guy.
I feel sorry for him because I can so totally relate.
Yeah, I
Um,
know. I do that all the time. I walk into a room and I start knocking over chairs and stuff.
oh yeah, it's tough. You know, people don't know what we go through.
I could show them, but that's a different podcast for
That's for
another
our
time.
OnlyFans.
Yeah.
We'll get that started up soon. But anyway, the one thing that did happen really the last couple of weeks is NASCAR. And oh, that was fun at Richmond last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, it was a pretty boring race actually until the last lap.
Um, if you haven't seen it, whatever.
You're living in a cave.
Austin Dillon did something that people in NASCAR have been doing for generations and generations. In fact, some of the legends of NASCAR were famous for doing that. I mean, Dale Earnhardt, people like that. But now it's 2024 and times are different. And marketing and sponsorship is more important than the fans. And they really slapped Austin Dillon, didn't they? That was a heck of a fine they gave him.
Yeah, first of all, I want to start off with saying that Austin Dillon did absolutely nothing wrong. In my eyes, he did exactly what he should have done,
Mm-hmm.
and NASCAR completely overreacted, I believe. I I'm good with them giving him a penalty of some sort, but
Mm-hmm.
not taking away his eligibility for the playoffs.
I, yep. This is the way I see is how it went down. Normally in a race, somebody does something stupid, somebody doesn't like that. Usually, right then, like 10 minutes, 20 minutes after, you get the penalty. NASCAR likes to take a day for penalties for some reason. They wait till the next day, usually on Monday. This time they waited until Wednesday afternoon. What I think went down is you had people in NASCAR going, well, just like you. He's done a lot of things. He did things that a lot of other drivers have done, you know. But I think the guys at NASCAR started talking to the marketing department and some other people with some sponsors and stuff, and they were influenced and they were told, listen, we can't have any more of this. Maybe Logano's or Hamlin sponsors were like livid that we might pull out a series if we let that happen. And so NASCAR said, well, we got to do something. We got to, money's more important than sportsmanship, let's just say. And that's why we had that ridiculous fine.
Well,
Penalty. I'm
I
sorry.
disagree with that completely. That's probably the greatest thing that's happened to NASCAR in the last 10 years. That's all anybody has talked about for the last 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
It literally is just taken the entire space and consumed with Austin Dillon
Right.
wrecking the two biggest crybabies in the on the circuit. who
Mhm.
have done the same thing, by the way, and were not penalized at all
Right.
for actually doing the exact same thing.
Yeah,
So,
as a fact, on the internet, there's somebody's already done a video of Logano and Hamlin doing this exact same thing
yeah,
to win races, and nothing happened to them. Uh,
exactly.
mm,
So I wouldn't mind them penalizing him in some way monetarily, 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever there, and
mhm.
maybe even dock him some points, but let's not take away his eligibility. Uh, he earned that to get into the playoffs. He had the most dominant car of the weekend. He
Mhm.
dominated the practice. He dominated. Well, he didn't sit on the pole, but he was top five. I mean, clearly had the dominant car during the race.
Mhm.
And if it wasn't for the with 2 laps to go caution flag that came out,
Mhm.
which was convenient because it should not have happened.
Mhm.
That's what they need to look at is why this caution flag came out to cause this entire. I mean, he had a 3.5 second lead with 2.5 laps to go,
That's why the caution came
and
out.
that's when the caution came out. So I mean, he rightfully won the race.
Mhm.
If that caution hadn't come out, there would be nothing to talk about. He
Mhm.
would have won the race. He would be in the playoffs, and that's the way it should be right now. He did win the race. They're not taking the win from him, but
Mhm.
they're taking the playoffs from him,
Mhm.
which I think is completely out of line. He
Uh,
earned it.
yeah. How many? That's it. It's Aren't there like two more races before the playoff starts, or one
I
more
think it's
race?
three more.
Three more.
Three more.
So he can still get in.
Yeah. And his
So
best track is Daytona, where he's won before.
mhm.
So he has a good shot of winning in Daytona.
Let
And
me
to
see.
me, the RCR Richard Childress Racing, they seem to have found something. They
Mhm.
found something for Richmond in the car, which they had not had for like 2 years.
Mhm.
He spent 2 years, riding in the back, 32nd in points. If he finished 15th, that was a good race for him.
Mhm.
Now, all of a sudden, they found something, and hopefully that'll carry over to the other tracks, and he'll still have a chance to get in. Now, I'm not a huge Austin Dillon fan or anything like that. I don't think he's any better than anybody else.
Mhm.
He's not any worse than anybody else. He's just had a bad car for the past couple of years,
Mhm.
and I think them bringing Kyle Busch onto the team, being his teammate, I
Yeah.
think has really elevated the entire organization.
Well,
Even though Kyle ran like crap in that race, but I think that he has brought new life into that organization.
you mentioned the team, and this isn't over yet because they are appealing. I always find it kind of funny. They're appealing to the exact same people who actually gave them the penalty. You know?
Those appeals never work. I don't think I can recall a time ever that NASCAR has changed their mind.
I've seen where they've like maybe adjusted, like instead of 50,000, they drop it to 40,000 or something, or some a little
Right.
minuscule thing. But NASCAR is not going to say whoopsie, we did it wrong. Um, the other thing that happened, which is honestly, this is the thing that ticked me off even more, and Joey Logano, you saw after the race when he pulled in the pit lane. I don't know if you've seen that video,
Yeah, I saw that.
doing burnouts in a pit lane where passing all the cars, which you're not supposed to do, coming into the pits after the race. I mean, there were the race was over. There were people walking through the pit lane. You saw people diving out of his way.
Yeah.
Nobody was stopping until near the end, where some NASCAR official, a brave man, jumped out in the front of his car and started cussing him out, telling him to stop, while the other NASCAR officials were like, "Wait, like, whoa, don't hit me." Um, that to me was a more dangerous thing that happened at that track, and all he got was a $50,000 fine, which
Yeah.
let's face it, $50,000 to me or you would be like, holy crap, but for him, it's a tax write-off.
Yeah. That's pocket change for him.
Yeah. Not only is
Yeah.
pocket change, it's probably the team pays it, and that's literally a tax write-off because the money technically goes to charity,
Yeah.
the fine. So big whoop.
And he could have killed somebody on victory on the pit road there. He
Mhm.
could have seriously injured somebody or actually killed him.
And
And
they,
he did this right in front of Austin Dillon's pits,
uh-huh.
where his wife was carrying their baby
Hmm.
go, to go to Victory Lane. He could have killed his wife and kid.
Right.
I
There,
mean,
you see the
like you
video
said,
cart.
there needs to be more than a $50,000 fine on that deal.
Yeah.
He needs to be suspended for some races.
You watch that and you see people like really scared jumping out of the way and everything. And he's just popping the clutch and doing burnouts down pit lane. I
And that's
mean,
just immaturity. That shows you his immaturity and
yeah.
how he overreacted. He got out of the car and said, "Oh, he was 4 car lengths back and ran into me and wouldn't have made the
Hmm.
corner." Well,
Hmm.
after he said that, I of course rewound and watched it, and there was 1 car length, maybe 1.5 car lengths. Not 4 car lengths, not 5 car
Hmm.
lengths. So, yeah, the only beef that Joey Logano could have was that, yeah, he was taken out. But, it was also a situation where Austin Dillon had dominated that race.
Hmm.
He was leading when the caution came out.
Right.
And Joey Logano thought he was going to just sneak up there, having not led like a single lap during the entire race.
Hmm.
And he was just going to come up there and steal that race. And Austin Dillon wasn't having any parts of that.
Hmm.
So I think if he could have been a little closer, he might not have wrecked him. He might have just got him out of shape, got him out of the way. But he had fell back far enough to where he had to make a bonsai move,
Hmm.
which also is NASCAR's fault because you've got this win and you're into the playoffs, and this was his only shot of making the playoffs.
Hmm.
You give him 1 lap. You go in there and you take the guy out, you're in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Logano should have known that this guy is going to do everything he can to get to the front.
He
Logano,
should have been expecting it.
yeah, Logano's already set, so let the other guy go. It's nice to win a race, but you know, the, it's like now for these last few races, you don't think Austin Dillon's going to be pulling everything out of his hat to try to win a race now to get back into the playoffs? Don't get in his way.
Yeah.
Don't get in his
And
way.
him and his teammate Kyle Busch is in the same position of they're both going to have to get desperate. I see them. Their best chances are going to be at Daytona,
What?
and I see them working together to get up front. But only one of them can win the race and make it in. So we'll see.
Yeah, and
It ought to be
Logano,
fun.
his team needs to, those guys at Penske need to get him some anger management therapy
Yeah.
or something. Or I'm surprised. I don't know. I haven't heard the radio, but I would have thought that the guy, his spotter or his crew chief, would be going, "Hey, yo, calm down. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Chill. We'll talk. We'll deal with it
Well, see,
later."
they all lost their heads when that happened. Then
Yeah.
the spotter's mad, the team's mad.
Mhm.
They're all ready to fight. So at that point, they're not gonna really think about calming him down.
Mhm.
They're gonna think he's justified in whatever he does,
Well, I know
which
that
he's not.
Roger Penske cannot be happy. He doesn't
No.
like things like that. And I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday saying legally, Johnny Logano, I mean, if he'd have hit somebody, he would have been charged with
Yes.
assault because the race was over. It wasn't a racing incident or something like that that's on the ticket. They say you assumed that he was doing something, violating the rules, doing it on purpose. If he'd have hit somebody, Logano would have been in jail.
Yeah.
All right.
And rightfully so.
Right. I mean, that was just stupid what he did. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Logano, you're stupid. That's going to be our lead for this one. Okay.
It's just immaturity. It's immaturity.
Yeah.
See, I was brought up at the Hialeah Speedway School of Hard Knocks. I've been taken out before, sort of the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun. I know that it's not fun, but it's part of racing. That whole scenario was just racing. It was a last lap, and they've said it over and over again. if that would have happened with 20 laps to go or at the halfway point in the race, yeah, there's major fines, major penalties for that. But it's the last lap of the race.
Right.
As they say, all is fair in love and war in the last lap of a NASCAR race.
Well, it's like what surprised me about Logano is like Logano's not a rookie. Okay, he's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah,
he should
know better.
He should know better. I can understand some rookie or some really young gun trying to make a name for himself and getting really pissed off. But no, man, Logano, stupid. Yeah. A next NASCAR subject, Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson.
We both on Kyle Larson's fan club. We agree he's one of the best drivers out there. And he's definitely the best NASCAR driver, if you ask me right now. Right. In a lot of other cars, he's up there too. The man's got talent. But Kyle Larson just said something here that is really genius to say this, because now everybody around the world is going to be talking about him. He goes, this is quote, Kyle Larson. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
I know in my mind, I'm better than him as an all-around driver. There's no way Max Verstappen can get into a sprint car and win Knoxville Nationals. There's no way he can win the Chili Bowl, and there's no way he can win a cup race at Bristol. I know I'm better than him. Maybe not an open wheel car like IndyCar F1. I think I would beat him in everything else. You can quote me. You can quote that.
And I think that's correct, because Verstappen, how many times has he even been in a sprint car? Never. How many times has he driven a stock car? Probably never. So yeah, there would be a huge learning curve there. Yeah. Now, Kyle Larson has been in an open wheel car. He was in the Indianapolis 500 in an Indy car. So he did pretty well. I've said this many times. You give Kyle Larson an equal car in Formula One, and he will beat Verstappen. Maybe not the first race. It may take him a few races to adjust. But Kyle Larson races a sprint car on Saturday night, wins the race, and then Sunday morning it goes and gets in a cup car and wins that race. Instantly. It's completely different driving styles. The two aren't even close to how you drive those cars. Yeah, and he instantly makes the transition.
Kyle Larson is good in cars that he has a lot of experience in. Yeah, Max Verstappen, you stick him in a sprint car, he's not going to win because he's never driven one of those things before. Right. My thing is, it's funny, is that Kyle Larson is going, well, if you put him in a sprint car or a NASCAR, he's not going to do well, as if those are the only two other cars that exist on this planet, or type of racing that exists on this planet. I mean, put Kyle Larson in a sports car, in equal sports cars with Max Verstappen. I mean, I'm not going to say that Kyle Larson is better than Verstappen. I'm not saying Verstappen is better than Kyle Larson. I don't even know if Verstappen is the best Formula One driver right now. But to say that he's better without any real appreciable way of measuring it, at least if he had driven a car that also Max Verstappen has driven and did well in it. But it's genius now, because now people in Europe are going, what's a Kyle Larson?
Kyle Larson. He's got a European name, Larson.
Yeah.
He sounds like he should be driving a rally over there.
Yeah, he should be driving a rally car and it's a Swedish flag on it or something, which is another thing. I look at guys like, and I know you don't follow rally, but Sebastian Ogier, who's won the championship 7 times, or even before him, Sebastian Loeb, who not only won 7 times the World Rally Championship, then finished second in Le Mans, has won GT races and sports cars. I'd put him up against Kyle Larson any day, or even the current one, the top hot shoe in rally, Kalle Rovanperä from Finland. I watched that kid go, and I'm like, no, that's not real. It's AI. It's something going on there. How does he do? They makes the car dance on gravel. It's incredible. There's really no way. Well, okay, the greatest race car driver of all time, as far as I'm concerned, is Fangio. You look at his numbers. He won over 40% of the Formula One races he competed in. He used to race stock cars in Argentina on the dirt, kicked everybody's ass. We're talking like in the 40s, okay, with flathead Fords and stuff like that. He's won sports cars. He won everything. He was like dominant in any car he went into. He dominated.
Well, you could compare him to Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti won the Indianapolis 500. He won the Daytona 500. Yeah, you know, he was able to transition from car to car and win. So I would say, in my opinion, that would be Mario Andretti.
Mario's up there. Jim Clark, Formula One champion, British guy, hopped in a car and won the Indianapolis 500. Same with Graham Hill. Those goddamn British guys came over there and kicked all those good old Midwest good old asses. It was kind of embarrassing if you ask me. But there's really, I mean, I say Fangio because it's like saying Babe Ruth is the greatest baseball player. At the time, yeah, he was dominant and his numbers are ridiculous, but there's just no way, that you can compare.
Well, that's like the Verstappen Larson. You know, you're never going to be in a situation where they're going to both be in equal cars,
right?
That they have equal experience in,
right,
to really test that theory of who's the best. You know, you can put Larson in a Formula One car, Verstappen's going to beat him. You put Verstappen in a sprint car, Larson's going to beat him.
Right.
You know, so he said there's no way to quantify who's actually better. That's why I really loved the IROC series back in the day. You know, they were all in equally prepared cars that were supposed to be exactly the same. But there again, they were stock cars. You know, they were stock cars.
Right.
I think you could do another IROC series. In one race, they're in stock cars, and the next race, they're in an Indy car, and the next race, a Formula One car. Then maybe, you know, if a Larson steps up and dominates that, then you can say he's the best.
Yeah. It's
but without that.
Back in the day, you had IROC and it was able to work then. But now, because there's so much money in racing and contracts with sponsors and teams, you have, right now, Max Verstappen drives for Red Bull. It's technically Honda powered. He's not going to get into a car with a Nissan engine in it or a Ford engine in it or something like that,
And then there's the risk, it's like Chase Elliott the other year went snow skiing or snowboarding and broke his leg and missed the first half of the season. Now it's in his contract. He's not allowed to go snowboarding, and same thing with people riding bicycles and things like that. There are motorcycles. There's a lot of contracts that have that written into them that, hey, you're not allowed to ride a motorcycle. You're not allowed to go skiing. You're not allowed to do anything that you could injure yourself that's not involved.
They're more valuable in one piece. And so I can't see any IROC. Supposedly IROC is coming back. Remember that a year or so ago, what was it called? They had that thing on CBS on Saturday nights, where they had all these all-star guys on little little oval tracks.
Well, there was the one series, or the thing they had at the Marlins Park there, where they had brought in all the race of champions. Right, that's IROC, Race of Champions.
Yeah, but
and you actually went to that and didn't take me, so I'm still pissed about it.
it was
pick up the phone, call me, say, hey.
It was like I went there and I had seen it before on TV, and then I went to see it live. It's a joke. It's like a little, not even side-by-side racing, a little course inside a baseball stadium. How exciting can it be? But no, there was a series.
Like a go-kart.
There was a series for I think if last one was last year. They ran it for like 3 years, where Ray Everingham was running it. And they built all the same cars, and they had Paul Tracy and Elio and Tony Kanaan and a bunch of NASCAR guys, and they'd run in these small local short tracks. So then they'd bring in the champion from that area to race against them. That went under, but now supposedly Everingham's bought the IROC name, and they're talking about bringing it back, but they say it's probably going to be the same thing. These little dirt, they look like little dirt track cars, not sprint cars. What do you call those? Modifieds.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to happen. It's just going to be, it'll be for old retired drivers who want to just keep racing because, like I said, if you drive a Chevy, if you're on a Chevy team in NASCAR, you're not going to drive a Ford powered car, and vice versa. Same with Toyota, same with Formula One. Lewis Hamilton drives his Mercedes because he races Mercedes. Everything's Mercedes. Next year, he already signed with Ferrari, but he can't even come close to a Ferrari until his contract's up with Mercedes. Then all of a sudden, the Mercedes goes somewhere, goes to auction, and he drives around the Ferrari. Life really sucks for him,
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be Hamilton, Yeah. I don't know how he does it, having to do all that. It's just too much.
Speaking of Lewis Hamilton, I keep on seeing the trailers for that new Formula One movie that's coming out with Brad Pitt, and I'm saying Lewis Hamilton because he's one of the executive producers of it. Must be nice. And the whole plot is basically where they have a Formula One team, and the guy's got a new up and coming driver, but he needs to be shown the ropes. And you had Brad Pitt, who's the old Formula One guy who used to be in, but then he got hurt, and so he retired. But then he gets talked into coming back to be this kid's mentor, which I find extremely amusing because that's the exact same plot of the movie Driven with Sylvester Stallone.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Didn't Sylvester Stallone do that?
Which I think the consensus worldwide is that is the worst racing movie that's ever been made.
Well, I mean, what other plot line is there? I mean, if you're going to make a racing movie, that's the only thing you can really do. There's Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise, I guess.
Yeah. Grand Prix. That was I mean, you can do all kinds of things. It's just, I don't know. I'm looking at this movie and it's going on to being one of the most expensive movies being made. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound good.
No.
Whenever you hear movies,
CGI, or it just looks fake,
well, they've had Brad Pitt driving a car like at Silverstone during practice and stuff, and getting mixed in with some of the other cars. But whenever I hear a movie being like one of the most expensive Hollywood movies being made, it never seems to do well. But I don't know if this movie is going to be it'll probably do okay because all the Formula One fans will go out and probably go see it.
And it's got Brad Pitt, so all the women will want to go see it.
And I don't know if it'll work. So anyway, amazingly, considering not much racing is going on, we ended up talking about a lot of stuff. This week is IndyCar in St. Louis, a big oval race. That should be interesting. It's on Saturday night, so you got something to do on Saturday night? Something to watch?
I work.
Oh, that's true.
I'm a professional driver, so I work on Saturday night.
Yeah. And what else is there? Where's NASCAR this weekend?
I believe Michigan.
Michigan, that's right. And Formula One still got one more week off. They have their whole summer break. Good for them. So you guys know what to do. Click the like button, the subscribe button. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're going to be probably going to I'm looking at other platforms to put us on. Come on, guys. Show us some love.
I'm saying right now that I hope that Austin Dillon does win another race.
Oh, yeah.
And get into the playoffs. And I think the big reason why NASCAR did that was to hopefully prevent the retaliation.
Yeah,
could be. If they would have done nothing, I think Austin Dillon would have been out there driving with a huge bullseye on his car.
Yeah.
But now that he's got that taken away from him, now they've got the sense to say, okay, he's been punished for what he did. we don't need to risk our own race in order to try to, retaliate on him. So maybe it'll help him in the long run as far as on track activities.
That's the other thing though, with this harsh penalty to Austin Dillon. Now they've set precedent. Somebody else does something similar. What are they going to do? Yeah. I mean, some guy
there
gets
was
pushed.
already a precedent that they didn't fine and take points away from Joey Logano for doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. They didn't take away anything from Hamlin for doing the same thing. Now, these two guys are already in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They didn't need that win. Mm-hmm. They didn't need to do what they were doing when they had the guy that dominated the race. Mm-hmm. If Austin Dillon had not dominated that race and he just luckily came up there, with that last caution and pulled that, I would say, okay, he needs some kind of penalty. But no, he was dominating that race. He should have rightfully won that race, and he did. So that's why I disagree with the taking the playoffs away. I can live with the rest of the penalties. Take the 25 points. Mm-hmm. Suspend his spotter who said wreck them. Mm-hmm. I agree with all that, but don't take away the playoffs from the guy.
So you don't think nobody's going to retaliate against him this weekend?
No, not in Michigan. Michigan's one of the fastest tracks they go to. Yeah, over 200 miles an hour. That's not a track that a track like Martinsville or a little short track. Yeah. And the other thing was, you asked me what NASCAR should do to improve things, and I said, "Well, go to the two tires. The soft tire and the hard tire. The option tire and the prime tire," and they did it this weekend, and I thought it worked out great. Yeah, it made for exciting racing.
It mixed it up a bit. All right, let's see. I hope you're right. Actually, no, I hope there's some kind of retaliation. Come on, NASCAR, Rubbin's Racing. Come on, make this old guy happy.
Well, I think the penalties will help Austin Dillon in the long run as far as the retaliation part of it. I don't know about Joey Logano, because he's a hothead with no brains, for doing what he did. So he's liable to try to do something. But I think Hamlin was very, very, I would say political when he got out of the car after the race. He didn't want to put too much blame. He didn't want, he blamed where it should on NASCAR because NASCAR put them in that situation.
Yeah. Well, Hamlin's not an idiot. Hamlin knows how to keep us cool. So
yeah.
Well, let's see what goes. We'll talk next week and see who's right. So, all right, guys, it's the end of the show. See you next week. Send us some love.
See you.